Hi there, welcome to the I Ching Cafe. My name is Belinda Dubston and it is wonderful you are here with me and we are together working with the I Ching in our lives, learning how to master the flow of change and growing and developing our consciousness as we do. This week it is our weekly I Ching forecast with the week commencing the 27th of January 2025, our last full weekly for this month, okay, heading into February, touching on February this week. And of course, pretty soon we'll be heading into the monthly forecast for February. Right, before we get into this week's focus with the I Ching, let us cast our minds back to last week. We had Hexagram 11 Peace, that beautiful locked hexagram, focusing us, doubling us down on this idea of heaven and earth lining up, the alignment opening up, the portal of flow lining up, and a wonderful flow of flowering and fertility and peace that flows from that connection. We would have in the week working with this hexagram felt lined up, felt connected, perhaps felt at peace, more importantly felt that heaven can manifest on earth, that there is the potential for that alignment to take place. And two things cropped up in my mind in reflection during the week, one of which is when I recorded last week's episode. It was prior to the ceasefire deal being agreed. So I thought, yes, peace, 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 as we spoke about in that episode. And the second thing is I had not thought about this grand 6-7 planet alignment taking place on the 25th of January. So I spoke a lot about the portal lining up and the planets lining up, whatever your belief is on that front, but just the idea of things lining up was mirrored in our outside world. Really amazing when it happens through the I Ching. Okay, so if there was anything that came up from you last week, please do share a comment. We always learn so much from everyone sharing and learning. And let's get into this week's forecast. We do not have a locked hexagram. It means we have changing lines, one specifically. And our first hexagram for this week, our first flow, our focus, as we are working with tapping into this wonderful tool, the I Ching, is hexagram 54, marrying Maiden. Okay, so this is a complicated hexagram. I find it quite layered and deep. It is not about, yay, you're going to get married. Okay, there are other hexagrams that talk about long-term relationships and developing those and partnerships and courtship. There's a lot of relationship hexagrams in the I Ching. This one could be that for you, but the underlying idea of this hexagram is the big cycles of change that guide us forward in life. The big energy shifts that we go through that we can't understand until much later. Getting married symbolically is a huge, momentous shift in our lives. No matter what your circumstances around getting married or how you landed up there, it's a big personal shift in our lives, that commitment. So we talk about these big cycles of change that are turning over beyond our comprehension. This hexagram talks about us being led forward on a path that we don't understand, and perhaps we see at face value, because we have a particular perspective, as a step down, as a disempowerment. The story behind this hexagram, you heard me talk about many times before, is the young maiden who is sold off or married into the prince line or the king's line, and she's now concubine number 13, right? So she has lost her power. She's gone from a place of having power in her family home where she was princess, and now she's like 13th wife, behind a whole lot of others. She has like no power over her destiny that she feels, and she's kind of like stuck without any influence. And part of this journey is recognizing, as is the story with this hexagram, that she was being moved into position into this new family line because she needed to be the heir to a future golden king. And so that could only happen by her moving into this position where she felt initially subverted and disempowered and moved down quite a few rungs. But actually the bigger process playing out was that fate was unfolding in her favor, in the bigger plan favor. And so when we work with this hexagram, yes, we work with this idea of being moved into new cycles of commitment, into big cycles of change, our circumstances, going on these evolutions and accepting the path and trusting the path and finding a way that in the moment that's in front of us, is to put our head down and behave well. It's not the time for the 13th concubine to start having tantrums or making demands. That is not going to go down well in the court, right? She has to conduct herself well and follow the protocols and behave well. That is what our task is this week. There's a process of change. There's a process of things turning over, these big cycles. And even if we can't appreciate why they are happening or what is happening for us, if we trust the process. Very hard for us to do. We like doing things to create an outcome. Trusting the process when we don't understand it is very, very difficult. This week, there is one changing line in the 4th position. And this changing line draws our attention to the importance of timing when it comes to making a commitment. In particular, the story of this changing line is the young maiden who's getting older and older and older, all right? And maybe there are suitors that have been presented, but waiting for the right one. Okay, now she's in her 30s. Okay, some cultures is you are beyond your sell-by date. Okay, now she's in her 30s, and she's holding out for the right one. And when the right one comes, she knows, and even though she is later in life, she makes the choice, the connection is made, and there's a wonderful energy that comes out of that. So what does that mean for us as we are all marrying maidens this week? It means wherever we feel rushed into a particular decision, and what might happen for you is that what pops up for you is either in this week you become aware of a decision that's put in front of you where there's a cultural or a societal pressure around, I should take this because who knows if I'm going to get this again, right? So we have this pressure around taking something that we know is not quite right for us because there's this pressure of take it. So that might be an event that happens in this week for us. What it often can be is that process is happening anyway, and what this week does is it just, something kind of emerges out that highlights and reflects back where that is taking place for us. So it might be an event that's been working its way through for us for a while. And what happens is now it becomes visible. Yep, as I say, it comes out of the quantum soup, whoop, little bubble, and presents itself for us to reflect on. So what that might mean that you've been putting off making a decision, waiting for the right opportunity, the right moment, the right client, the right partner, okay, for the conditions to be right. There's pressure to take deals, okay, or take options that are not quite right. And what we have to do is trust the process. Trust yourself that you will know the right time. You will know the right opportunity. And there's something here that we are rewarded by just resisting the urge to just make the decision and just get on with it. Okay, there's something here where taking our time and choosing the right thing at the right time without panicking is what we need to work with this week. Okay. Perhaps you've been in a negotiation, you've been given an offer, right? Particularly like if you're buying a property or a home. And either you've made an offer or someone's made you an offer. Let's say you're selling and you received an offer and it's not great, but it's there. And you might be pressurized by the estate agent to say, come on, take the deal. I mean, taking a deal is better than not having a deal. You just don't know if you're not going to get another opportunity or you never get this deal again. And something in you says, no, but this is not what I want. Trust that. Okay. Now, you have to be wise. Don't make that decision because, well, the I Ching said this week, work with using what I'm saying, what the I Ching is giving you, as a data point, all right, as an aspect to reflect back on what you're thinking and what you're going through. And that perhaps if you're wrestling with this idea that you're wanting to make a decision and you don't want to take this, now you want to just give it a bit more time, perhaps just trust that. See how it goes. Okay, so there's lots of different ways this line can manifest for us this week, whether that's work, relationships, timing on deals, but there's a definite timing element with this of waiting for the right time brings the reward. Don't feel pressurized to take the first thing that comes along because what happens if nothing else comes along for you? Okay, We can do this. We can trust. All right, so that gives us a second hexagram for this week. And when we work with a second hexagram, we work in parallel. We see it as a second flow. Yes, we often call it the outcome hexagram, what the first one is evolving into. I say that process is happening, but we also can see them as two parallel lines of flow of energy we're working with for the whole week. And that is hexagram 19, approach. Okay. You can see from the structure of the hexagram, two yang lines at the bottom, a whole lot of yin lines. And it talks about the approach of spring. Okay, the arrival of something great coming to embrace that which is small. Okay. In this case, we are the small creatures, all right? And we are being embraced by something that's much more powerful. In a way, there's an interesting connection between these two hexagrams of, marrying Maiden is, fate is getting us into position. There's a power working through us. And the imagery of 19 approach is that nature is working through a process, right? There's this force coming to bring us a blessing. And the way we can understand that is what that's like for spring returning after the freeze of winter, of this warmth coming back and slowly melting the ice, of creatures being able to come out of their burrows, of life being able to move again in the lakes, right? There's this energy of this warmth and this energy coming back. Us as little creatures being embraced by those turning seasons, we don't argue and debate and control and try and reason or understand even what this energy that's coming in. We just welcome it. Okay, and that is how we work with hexagram 19. There's a blessing of a great magnitude coming to us, all right? Whether that's an opportunity that comes, whether that's the blessing of the relationship we've been holding out for, or the deal, or the client, or the project we've been praying for and been putting off making a decision because of marrying Maiden. But this wonderful energy says, if we can just resist the urge to take the first deal, and we can just embrace and trust the process and be open and welcoming to what's coming in, the energy that's thawing everything out, we can receive a great blessing this week. We can become aware of a great blessing that's already in our lives, not necessarily one that just drops in for this week. Of course, with both these hexagrams, what they're asking us to do, the strategy, is to follow. Okay. Very difficult, very yin. Okay. We are following the flow. We are following fate. We are following the turning change. We are following the incoming energy. We are welcoming it. We're being open. Okay. We are not in yang male action, decision, right? Decisive energy this week. No, we are in our yin, we are welcoming and we're being open. And if we can just, this week, wherever we encounter things, is just ask ourselves, is this a moment to welcome and embrace and to trust? And if yes, open up your arms, your heart, your mind, and welcome in what comes. It's a blessing. Sometimes we can't always see blessings in the packaging. Okay, the packaging sometimes looks like it's not a blessing. And then later we see blessing. Okay, we've all had that experience where one of the greatest gifts that comes wrapped up in unusual packaging. Okay, that's what we need to be open to this week. A wonderful week for us to be in our yin, in our female, and embrace the flow around us, right? Do things this week that allow you to stay open, right? To stay receptive, to not lock in on solutions, lock in on answers, concretize things, go into that male concrete mind. Be open and expansive. Lovely open energy for us to work with as we round out January 2025. Of course, we had our monthly where the first half of the month was opposition again. Okay, and then we worked with taming power of the great. So you will no doubt still be connecting and working with where focus on one central thing is the way forward. Don't forget the monthly. It's playing its way out through for us. And I certainly have had some wonderful insights the last couple of weeks of where a decision around focusing and putting down lots of choices and lots of other noise has been a breakthrough. So there's still time left for us to work with Hexagram 26, Taming Power of the Great, as we focus our energy and we become Kung Fu masters, master the Chi, okay? Being receptive, in flow, in our female openness with this week's overview, and just seeing what magic might emerge as a result. Thank you so much for being here with me. If you found this useful, helpful, a thumbs up, a like would be really great, and I appreciate that. Or share it with someone who needs to hear this week. And of course, if you're new to the channel, it'd be lovely to have you come back and join us on the regular. Hit the subscribe button, the bell, so you get the notifications as soon as episodes come in. And of course, the podcast, hit the follow button. Thank you so much for being here with me. Have a wonderful last week of January, and I'll connect with you very soon for our February monthly forecast. Until then, take care.